All right, so I put a lot of text in there just now. So I have heard a myth that leaving your alternator, well, your battery hooked up while doing welding like this can damage your alternator. I've never experienced a issue with this because there have been many instances where I did body work on car like this where I never disconnected the battery. It's more of a myth. I haven't taken the time to actually proven it or test it, but it's just something you may want to look into. All right. So basically, you want to weld pins in all the low areas as you see that I'm doing here. And if you're using the puller like I am, that little wheel in there, you have to pull it closed to lock it. All right. And if you push outward with your thumb there, like I just did, it releases it. So it's a pull. The tighter you pull on it, if you lock it with your thumb like how I just did and you pull on it, it'll grip even harder. And you got to push it outward toward the body to release it. All right, so what I'm doing here is just pulling out the dent. And if you see I'm hitting it with the hammer, you're probably like, why are you hitting it with the hammer if you're pulling it out? Well, if you just pull that dent out and you don't strengthen up the steel around it by tightening the metal up, it's going to plop back in very easily. All right, it's going to bounce back in. It's going to fold back in. So it's important to hit the high areas around what you're pulling as you're doing the body work here. So it's important to, you're basically shaping the metal. You're pulling out on the dented area and then you're tapping around it to get the metal tensile strength, I don't know what you want to call it, stronger in that area. And this car is a flimsy car anyway, the Daihatsu. I mean, if you work on Hondas and just some of the newer, cheaper cars, it's very flimsy. So it might be when I was body working the door of this thing, I had to be very careful in sanding and not putting too much pressure because the door was so wavy, right? Not wavy, flimsy. So you can't put a lot of pressure when doing block sanding. You have to take your time. But I took my time. It's all in recorded process. I'll show you the steps. And it actually came out awesome. Came out flat like glass. So here I'm using a pair of dikes, cutting the welding pins off here. And it's important to twist them. You're not just going to cut them off. The key is to grip it and twist it off, if you see what I'm doing here. Then we're going to grind all those weld marks off. And then we're going to assess the damage and maybe even weld some more, okay? You could weld as many times as you want just to get in the areas. With this little area here by the fender, I wanted to do a little bit more to show you how to pull out areas that are really bent in. So you'll see that. So I hope you're enjoying the series so far. Let me know how you like it, and I'll see you in a bit. So if you see here, I'm trying to chip some of that paint off with the end of my hammer there so I can get a good weld in. Now, sometimes you're not going to catch, so it's okay to hold the trigger and twist your stud gun on the metal until it catches and burns. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid of that. Just don't hold it. Don't let it touch and glow for more than 2 seconds because you can burn it and go right through and it'll be worthless, right? You can have a hole there. But if it's not catching, sparks are totally normal. But if it's not catching, it's not glowing and burning, it means you don't have a good contact. So it's okay to hold the trigger, keep it held, and move your stud gun from left to right, so it grabs. And I think you saw that in just like a few seconds ago. I had that example in here for you. So right here, we're just pulling that little area out. That's hard to get area. Right, and then we're just shaping it. I'm keeping pressure on my puller as I hammer because I don't want it to go back in, right? And you can see it's the twist effect here. And then we shape it a little bit more. Sometimes you're going to need to put a dolly in back of it, which is a piece of heavy steel, so you don't go bending more than you have to or pushing in more than you have to. So this is pretty much as good as it gets. I'm not sure if I go a little bit more and weld another piece. It looks like I did right in here, welding one last final piece in there, right, just to get that section out. No, I didn't have to do that. I think I just wanted to show you that, hey, in my stud cut right here, I wanted to show you that, hey, you could even get in tight areas like that and pull out. So it looks like I just said, hey, let me just cut it out. So that's pretty much it. A little dent like that you could fill with filler, no problem. Just grind it out. And that's it. You know, go crazy with the filler. A little bit of filler like that's not going to kill anything, right? And you'll see me do this panel. So I decided to fill the keyhole here. It was more of a fake keyhole. You can see there's nothing there. I did go in there afterwards with a regular screwdriver just to scuff up that paint in there and kind of take that paint off around that ring there you see, and fill it. So this door was extremely flimsy, very thin piece of metal. So what I did was I got back there with a dolly after doing a little bit more pulling because it was a big dent here. And we flattened the pin area out, the pins where I pulled out, right? You'll see it. And we just basically just body worked it. So after this grinding stage, I used 150 grit to go around the painted area so we could blend in our body filler to our outer exterior paint there, right? So just keep watching. Hope you're enjoying the series. Thanks. Again, I am keeping pressure pulling while tapping around the area that I pulled out. Okay, that keeps it, that strengthens up the area. But you can, overall, you can see how flimsy this whole door panel is. The whole thing is flimsy. So what I did was cut them off, go in the back with my dolly, a big iron piece of steel that I have, a round piece of steel that I use as a dolly. Dolly is basically a 1/2 inch to 1 inch piece of block steel that you can put in back of dents, so you have something to hammer against when you're flattening out the metal from the front, right?